distributor, vacuum advance, cap, rotor, spark plug wires, spark plugs, valve adjustment, fuel filter, ignition control module. What do all these things have in common? These are all items that I've looked at and tried to address to get this rough idle fixed. Now this BMW has come a long way since I've got my hands on it, and it is running a lot better, but it is not up to my standards yet. Now last episode I deleted the idle control valve completely and I put these plugs into the intake circuit. To kick today off, we're going to be reversing that entire idle control valve delete. I'm going to fire this thing up on cold start, show you how it's running and show you why. Now when we ended last episode, this thing was actually running pretty good, but the vehicle was warm. We're going to be closing the tolerance on the throttle body again and reinstalling that idle control valve. So what I'm doing next is I'm adjusting this throttle stop screw. It has a flat head fitting on the bottom, and what it does is it pushes up here on the valve inside the throttle body and it keeps that propped open. All right, I've adjusted that throttle stop screw back to the spec that I found online in regards to troubleshooting rough idle issues. Clearance of 1.5 thousandths of an inch. Okay, now we can reinstall this idle control valve. Now let's see what happens. So it sounds pretty good. Cold start idle is a little high, about 1800 right now, but it's running. Now it's all funky. 2500 is way too high. I was at 2500. All right, now the exciting stuff really begins, because what I have in here is a used idle control valve I just got off eBay. Figured this is the next best way to test the system. Let's close it all the way so we have no air bypassing the ICV. Could miraculously fix this. We could be looking at a two-prong issue right now. Now from all the diagnosing I did last episode, things are really pointing towards the idle control valve, or that idle control valve module that's over in the glove box. Luckily I was able to find this one for about 175 bucks. Really curious to see if this will improve our condition. Fingers crossed, guys, fingers crossed. Come on, baby. You're still so high, why? Something else is causing the idle circuit to be high. It's not the idle control valve. It's not in the throttle cable because the throttle cable's slack. Maybe I opened up the throttle valve too much. Make sure that I didn't open it too much, because that extra air coming into the throttle body will increase the idle, no doubt. This is a paper thin feeler gauge. Potentially thinner than paper. It's super lightweight. All right, it still fits, but I closed the tolerance up a little bit. We can check continuity on the throttle position sensor again, because I did adjust the throttle body. So the full throttle switch is working. There's two screws on the switch body. Loosen it and rotate it until it works as specified. So we need to adjust this switch a little bit. Pretty buried. I might have to pull the throttle body here. Well, I guess we're pulling the throttle body. Coolant lines on the throttle body, gotta love it. So this is why we got the throttle body removed, is this little switch right over here on the side. This is the throttle position switch, and I wasn't getting continuity at resting position for one of the components of the switch, so I need to bust those flathead screws loose and adjust the switch within those slots until I get continuity at resting position. You gotta keep adjusting, just keep swimming. So Alec, you enjoying your latest project? No. Not with this goddamn high idle shenanigans. I'd be working on like an E90, E46, E60, E39. I'd rather work on one of those. That's what I want to be working on. Know what I'm saying? We gotta get this thing done. We gotta get this thing running so we can sell it. Come on, baby. I know the throttle position sensor didn't break overnight. Finally, I got this thing adjusted within range. I think I got it, guys. Damn, that sucked. That took me like an hour. Moment of truth. Cross your fingers for me. Come on. Cross your fingers. Ready? Okay, it's better. We're already 500 RPM down. However, before the engine gets warm, I want to pull the cold start valve, see if that thing is flowing fuel. Okay, there's these two Allens. Oh, the freaking dipstick tube was up too. I had a vacuum leak. Now before we go diagging that cold start valve, let's try this again because this dipstick tube was pulled up. We had a huge vacuum leak. RPMs last start were at 2,000. Let's see where they're at now. That's still pretty dang high. We're still at like 2,200. So I got masking tape over our injector port, and I'm gonna throw a piece of paper in front of it and see if we catch any fuel on cold start. I may think it's a little bit warm, so might not work, but we'll give it a try. The cold start injector is not leaking. It's not spraying when it shouldn't, so that's not gonna cause the idle to be high. Guys, I am stumped. It doesn't have any vacuum leaks besides a little wisp at the throttle body. The throttle position sensor is set up correctly. The idle control valve is working correctly. We've tested it with a secondary component. Maybe it's the idle control module or the computer. Get out of here. Go on. No. Go. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by my chickens, I'm stumped, guys. I really am. Maybe I should block off the idle control valve again. 2,000 RPM. Maybe it's the computer. Maybe it's the idle control module. I'm not too sure right now, guys. Let's check timing. Well, as far as good news goes, I got fresh chicken eggs now. My chickens started laying eggs the day I left for SEMA. So I'm averaging about 1 to 2 chicken eggs per day for my 7 chickens. Eventually, we should get 5, 6, 7 eggs per day. So I'm pumped. I've been eating these things every day. Well, this E30 sucks right now. But guys, at least we got this cute little puppy dog right here. I think it's the idle control module. I really do. I got some more testing to do on it to get things confirmed, but I got one coming. It's on the way. We're gonna try again once that shows up. We'll see what happens. We'll get back to this another day. Several days later. Now this is gonna be a real cold start, like haven't started in 5 days, cold temperatures cold start. It's at 1,300 RPM right now, and that thing fired up quick. I feel like this idle issue intermittently fails. Sometimes it idles at 2,000, sometimes it idles at 1,300. I'm sure if we were to let this thing sit for 5 minutes, the idle would fluctuate like crazy. Which leads me to believe, potentially the idle control module. Now it's up to about 1,800 RPM. So after startup there, we were at about 1,800 to 2,000 RPM. Let's put this module in. Make a better door than a window, Alec. Guys, I'm really nervous. I'm gonna literally jump for joy if this thing fixes it. If it doesn't, I'm gonna go to bed very demoralized tonight. So my mood is very dependent on whether this fixes the problem or not. We're going to find out. I guess this is why you don't shotgun parts into a car. You diagnose it and do it properly. Not like I did on this car. Ugh! I'm kind of at my wit's end with this car, guys. Putting in my other used ICV. $1,600 RPM. I'm gonna let this thing just run, see what happens. Did I just find my issue? Could it be this connector? So that's got to be coolant temperature. I got that connector crimped back down, squeezed it a little tighter with the needle nose. So it was coolant temp. And settles down at about 1800 RPM. And it's not good enough. What's interesting is when I tap the throttle and it returns to normal, it drops, comes back up. I'm over it. I'm over this one, guys. I'm over it. These chickens are dying to get out of the coop, so we're gonna let them out for a little bit before I got a hot date for this evening. Come on out, chickies. Woohoo! They want out so bad. Come on. Anyways, I pulled the 318 out to pull in my brand new project car, which I'm really excited to share with you guys. And the idle was different. I don't know if it was from this idle control module sitting and soaking into the car a little bit, but let's see what happens when I fire it up. Hey, look at that. It is at 1100 on startup right now. Look at that, 1100 RPMs on startup. Isn't that beautiful? In front of me, guys, is my brand new project, and I'm so excited to share it with you, but you gotta wait till the video's done. It's gonna be a big one. So I found some connectors in my toolbox, and I wanna see if these will fit over the pins. Both of these connectors fit, as you can see. So now I'm going to cut these ends off and crimp into these new connectors. Gotta love these auto strippers. Now, if this temp sensor is the issue, it would make a lot of sense. There's quite a bit of corrosion inside of these connectors, and if the car's not seeing that it's warm, it's gonna continue to potentially high idle. Feeling pretty hopeful. Let's see how she runs on cold start. Well, kind of cold start. Temp gauge bounce, so that's a good sign. Back to 1800. See what happens when I DC the circuit. No change. Let's go for a ride, Sage. We gotta give this thing a proper shakedown, huh? Load up. Good girl. Sitting up at 2000 right now, but like I said, let's take her for a spin, see what happens. It's definitely still idling too high because I wasn't even on the accelerator, and it got me up to like 15 miles an hour and shifted into second gear. Downshifted, in drive, foot on the brake. We're sitting at 1000 RPM, idling with load. It is feeling super peppy. It has more power right now than the car has ever had since I've had it, which is great. It's just this idle issue. Maybe I could time it, get the idle to reduce. It's a tough one, guys. It's really, really beating me up. I still want to sell the car, and I think I kind of want to sell it now as is because I got other projects I need to get started on. I've been doing all this work in hopes that I can use my free retest at the smog shop, get this thing to pass and get the registration finally done here in California. High idle aside, it's running absolutely fantastic. It has tons of power, no ping. I'm pretty sure I have it timed perfect. And the thing is just an absolute ripper, especially for a little 4-cylinder engine. It really has a lot of get up and go. You just got to wind it out and, you know, get it up to 5,000–6,000 RPM. And but it's totally ready for it, especially with all the fresh fluids. So that's where I'm at, guys. I'm at the end of the road when it comes to putting parts, time, labor into this thing. I told myself the distributor was the last piece I would replace, and now I'm in it, an idle control valve and an idle control module. So here we are back at the shop. It is in drive still. We are at 1000 RPM. Bump it up into park. 1800 RPM. Our temperature gauge is practically at half. I mean, that's warm. I hit the throttle and it drops to stops at about 1400 RPM, 1500, and then it comes back up. Let's see if we shut it off. It's a tough one, guys, but like I said, I am at my wit's end. I got another project right on top of this dash right here that I can't show you, and I need to put my time and attention into that. And when you guys see the video, you will understand. Now, is the car drivable? Absolutely. It would be even more drivable if I got those belts installed and if someone put a fresh set of rubbers on the wheels. Then this thing would be absolutely golden. But I think as for right now, it needs some lights replaced in the gauge cluster. It also needs some work done on the wiper motor. It needs new bulbs in the rear end. And it's got some other things too to make it like really legal and road safe. But I think for the most part, I just got to non-op this thing so I can keep moving forward. Whoa, what are you doing? Last Hail Mary for the day, guys. And then we're gonna switch gears onto my new project. Okay, cold start. This thing, last time I fired it up was at 1200 RPM. Oh, it's gonna do it, look at that. Fires up, 1200 RPM. It's exactly what we want, guys. That's exactly right in the spot. Drop it into reverse. 900, 1000. Beautiful. Why this keeps evading me, I don't know, but I figured better grab a shot while I'm moving this E30 around so I can show you guys the idle has come down. Sometimes it wants to go up to 1800. I don't know why. Anyways, just moving things around here so I can get another car in the shop, but let's see what happens. Drop it back up into park. Oh, look at that. I'm gonna let this thing idle for a little while out here and see. Why are you creeping up on me? All right, everybody, so I was about to take the E30 down to the smog shop today for one last Hail Mary and retest. Went to fire it up to get it warmed up this morning. Originally on startup, it fired up and idled at 1200, and then as it warmed up, it slowly increased to about 1800 at idle in park. So I called David, who's the smog technician I've been working with, and I'm like, hey David, I fired this thing up to bring it down to you this morning. It's idling at 1800. Are we even gonna be able to smog test it if it's idling at 1800? And he says, no, it has to be at 1100 or below. I could try to test it with it in gear and the wheels off the ground, but it needs to be 1100 or below, or he can't even continue with the test through his computer system. So I figured, okay, let's scrap the retest. I'm gonna head down to AAA, try to get this thing switched over to a non-op title and finish the registration process. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go get this title taken care of now. So this is the overall summary. I just wrapped up at the DMV. They said that I have to smog the car in order to finish the title transfer process over into my name. The way that California state works is because Denise sold it to me as a non-op, and I went to AAA to transfer the title and pay for fees to get it back on the road and then to smog it to complete the registration. Because I drove it apparently from my house to the smog shop, it's been on the road and it can no longer go back to non-op. So if I sell the car, I have to give them this paperwork of incomplete registration and a bill of sale, which I got, and they're gonna take that to their DMV and have it processed over into their name. So now I'm stuck in a limbo. I can't non-op the car. I have to smog it, but I don't know what it's going to take now to get it to smog or to get the idle to come down. So it's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's kind of where we're at right now. So what is the plan of attack for my little dirty 30 out there? Well, folks, she is indeed for sale. I'd love to sell it to a viewer or subscriber. I haven't given you guys a number on here yet before, but $6 grand would make me a happy camper. You just need to take care of the logistics of getting it home from the north coast of California. I'm just south of the Oregon border, right on the coast. The only issue with the vehicle, in my opinion, is the high idle. I fire it up, it runs at 1200, and as it warms up over a couple minutes, it creeps up to 1800. However, the car still runs great, it still drives great, and it still has tons of power. This high idle issue is extremely common, and it is all over the web. I just simply don't have the time, money, or passion to continue on with this E30 project when I have another project inside my garage that needs my attention. It is the biggest project, the biggest risk, and the biggest undertaking that I've ever taken on. And I can't wait to share the results with you guys. But that's what I've been doing. I know I haven't been posting that frequently. That's what I'm working on. So if you guys are interested, drop a comment or email me at dayoffdiy@gmail.com. And if we don't have a viewer or a subscriber that wants to buy the car, I'm going to get the interior cleaned up, and I'm actually going to list it on Bring a Trailer, I think next week before Christmas time here, and do a no reserve auction and see what we can get for it that way. Again, I've been hesitant to post a video because I haven't been able to get this thing fixed up to my standards, but I'm also coming to learn that it's okay to let a project go if it's not in a completed state, and that's the lesson that I'm trying to learn here. Mid-80s fuel injection cars just aren't my cup of tea, but there are other vehicles that I have a lot more fun working on, and that's what I'm going to try to focus on going forward. Overall, we did make some really good progress this episode. We got the idle to come down quite a bit, and it is really clean. We just need to get it a little bit more. And this is going to be someone's ultimate project. You know, someone's really going to enjoy working on this thing. It's going to have a good sense of nostalgia for them. That person just isn't me. So my loss is your gain. With all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, or I hope you learned something new. I cannot wait to share this new project with you guys. It should be out sometime in mid-December. So keep your eyes peeled and know that I am working hard in the background to get you guys some great content. As always, folks, I will see you on my next day off. Cheers.